So, here's some footage that I have downloaded from Artlist, ArtGrid Max, or Artlist Max, technically. It was shot on the 6K Dragon X from Red. It portrays a road trip where you have a sad person. This other person reaches in and tries to cheer them up. It seems as though it's two lovers on a road trip, based upon how the rest of the clips play out. But I like the sequence here of the sad car getting cheered up shot. It's all in log footage. Those of you who don't know what logarithmic footage is, this is a normalized image. Black is at the bottom of our histogram over here. Let me just double check and make sure. Yes, I am. Cool. White would be up here near the top of our histogram, though technically we're clipping, and so it's blue that's up there. That can happen sometimes. We can manage that if we were working in display referred color, but we're not. We're going to be doing some scene referred and some film emulation transforms and some interesting things like that. But logarithmic footage is encoded non-linearly. So what that would mean is if you look here at our curve, this is a linearized curve. Logarithmic curve would be something sort of akin to this. Not exactly, but, you know, sort of akin to that. If we bounce back and forth, we can maybe try to match it a bit better. Yeah, the idea behind log footage is so that, you know how this is a line from top to bottom? If you bend that line, you're able to actually capture more of the line in the box that you have here before it clips. So that when we normalize, as you can see here, the sky is what's clipping because the cinematographer on this actually tried to keep most values within range. I don't know their lighting setup or their flag and diffusion setup, but it seems though they went out of the way to make sure that everything was still within video range, despite the footage being shot in log. But you can always take values that are outside of range when you linearize and bring those back in. It's super handy. It's great. It's a concept and a technique that was originally done for film scans because film scans have way more dynamic range than the 5 to 8 stops that most display formats have. And now digital cameras do too, and it's fun. The other benefit of it is when you are working display referred entirely, not transforming to display, but you're just completely straight from log into your display refer, you can completely just make your own contrast curve and your own exposure from scratch. Like the density is what you're controlling. All of the information and detail that you would typically have dictated by the health of the negative, as they say, is now something that you have full control over. You want to make it more milky and then bring the midtones down so that it feels a bit more muddy and shadowed on our protagonist here, you can do that. Or if you want to drop the shadows and then open it up so that it's more airy and light, you can do that as well. You can push individual tones around. So let's warm up the shadows and then let's actually cool off the highlights so it feels more midday, or we can do the opposite. This looks like it's golden hour, or at least around golden hour. So let's really push that late afternoon kind of vibe. Let's make that a bit more pink. And then we'll take this. I'll make this a bit more blue. And then we'll take this. We'll try to clean up the skin tones slightly with this. So you have tons of flexibility with it. You can, get even deeper into it. There are other tools that you have at your disposal. You have logarithmic curves, which you can dictate, how deep into your image you actually, dig. So I can adjust like the very tip of my my highlights, or I can dig all the way down and go to, the midpoint and have it act more like a gain. Or I can be even more selective and just pull the little reflective surfaces here on the car. Same with the shadows. I can have, a little bit of the shadow. I can have, wrong. I think I'm adjusting. I can have, all the shadows like it's lift, or I can just very selectively pull up the toe. at the bottom. Super flexible. In that same vein, you have HDR tools. These allow you to actually mask out and see what IRE values you're manipulating exactly. You know, light, we have shadow, we have dark, and then we have the global, which is like a sort of like a gain, but it's like a true linear gain, which we'll get into at some point. That's more or less how camera sensors expose. Yeah, it's crazy the amount of flexibility that you get when you're working in log versus when you're working in baked in color. That's not to say that you can't. You know, as you see, I'm working here post transform with a lot of these tools. You can totally work in display space and work on footage that has been shot with a baked in look. It just means you have less control over the look and more control just over how that look is portrayed in the trace. But that's neither here nor there. I'm assuming most people viewing this are at least tangentially aware of log footage and its benefits. So, what I want to do is I want to recreate this look because it's very moody, very sad boy, I guess is the way to say, across these clips using simple nodes. I did not name them because I was just kind of playing around with it, but we will be naming them as we go through, and you'll be learning the purpose of each one as I go through. It's a very simple look. No masking, no node splitting, no RGB manipulation, no craziness. To do my first video like this, I just want to do something simple and straightforward. So let's reset. All layers. There we go. Let's reset and go through this from the top. So we are going to initially use a CST. This footage has red log 3, 10G, but it's not true IPP2. What I learned through some experimentation with it is that for some reason it is using Dragon Color 2 as its output on its input on the color space, which I was not aware you could do that, but I'm assuming there's some way you can mix and match, maybe with Legacy Color Pipeline. No idea. I learned this just because whenever you do red wide gamut, it is very, very saturated, very oversaturated. But that might also be true to the scene. Let's actually roll this out to here. You know, that might be true to scene. So let's take my assumptions out of this. We may have to modify this for the tutorial. I was literally playing around with this just a few minutes before beginning. So what we'll do is we'll pop this out to Cineon, and then we'll just ripple it across all three of these. Let's do a node label. This will be CST. CST. I screwed up. Dang it. I am not good at these tutorials because I'm so used to working faster and more loose. Node label, CST. All right, it took. Nice. All right, there we go. Sweet. So now we're going to go one more linear serial node after, and we're going to do our LUT. And we'll use our film lookup table. But actually, let's take a step back here. I'm going to build this right. We're going to build this right. We're going to take all these, new group, past, host clip group. This is where our CST goes. Now it's applied to all three of these. We're going to go here. We're going to go LUT, film looks, and we're going to do the D55 version of the codec lookup table built into here. Cool. Now, as you can see, this has kind of the look that we're going for, but I liked the idea of it being a double print. What I mean by that is to make it look like something that was a couple generations removed from the original master. You know, to me, this is like emulating the idea of an ideal master. The colors are not necessarily accurate to how print will look because obviously film has thousands of variables in the chemistry and the exposure and density and the age of the chemistry and how the layers and the printing machine and even how, whether you're doing like a DI out or if you're doing like, straight optical, lots of things will play into the look of it. But let's just say this is like Kodak or at least Blackmagic's ideal world version of a first generation master into this particular print stock. So, oops, not lock, I meant to label. So what we'll do is we'll kill this and we'll go in with our new fancy film look creator and we'll do our exact same input, our same IDT combo as what we've done before. There's 3, we'll do Cineon out. Canon log out, I'm stupid. Cineon out. Rec 7 and 9 out. Okay. So let's grab this. I should do 2 different colors and flip between them, but I'm stupid and lazy, so we'll just do a comparison like this. So as you can see, there is a big difference in density and saturation and the way that the color shift, because there is a color shift between the 2 different print emulations going on. There's a bit of like a it's dirtier is the easiest way to say it. I also love the quote vintage because it gets that nice blue to it, which for a lot of people is how you get teal and orange because it already has built into it the blue saturation on the bottom and the top, and then like an orange shift in midtones. Great easy way to get teal and orange is by stacking print emulations based off of this particular LUT that they have here. I'm unsure if that's what's being used in this, but you can get a similar effect if you just stack it. What happened? Oh, because it's red. I need to do gamma 2.4. So yeah, you can get a similar effect, by just stacking. This is the old way I would have done like multi-generational degradation emulation. That's a mouthful. But this is the new way for me to do multi-generational degradation emulation. And then we want to just clean it up a little bit. So let me label properly. Let's do node label. This will be FLC. This will be our trim. We're going to go to our HDR panel. We're going to pull our global, and we will just warm that puppy up a little bit. And then we're going to add a little bit of magenta, not a lot, just a little bit of magenta in it to kind of trim up some of the green. Now we can work on our individual clip layers, and everything will kind of ripple across. So the first thing we want to do is we have our buddy's little other side of his face here. As moody as this is and as great as this is, it is a little too chunky, a little too crunchy on it. I don't know if that shows on OBS. Does me going full screen? No. Okay. Well, we'll just have to use the viewer window here. So the first thing I want to do is find out exactly what am I targeting with the shadow here. We're going to pull that down a little bit so that we target specifically what we want and not anything more. We don't want to brighten the overall image. We just want to pull a little bit of life back into those shadows, and then we'll counter with dark so that we can retain our contrast, as you see here. I think that's pretty good for that shot. We'll come over here, same kind of thing, just pull some life back into the shadows so that we can see some of the detail that has been removed from this. You'll also look at my trace, you'll see that I have a little bit of individual color tone clipping going on in specific values, like my reds here. We'll handle that. I know that like this method of doing my multi-generational print degradation emulation is going to fuck with a lot of things in the trace, and make us no longer legal, and that's perfectly fine because we will do a cleanup trim here. Node label, clean up, trim. We'll go to our loom versus sat, bam, bam, and then we will clean that up. So we'll do 0.5 on the bottom. Come over here, we'll do 0.5 on the top. Bam, we are now legalized. Boom, boom, boom. No fines for this bitch. And we have a very quick, very efficient way of reaching this look, this mood, this color grade. I mean, there's so many different ways that we could do this that would be less destructive and require a little bit less cleanup at the end, but I wanted to do this fast because I like the idea of me showing you really quick, beginner-friendly kind of tips and tricks that will allow you to get a decent-looking image easily. And the thing that I like about the film look tool here are all the little goodies that you get. Let's actually cut our film color emulation. It's this. The vignetting, the grain, the wiggle from the gate weave, the flicker, which I'm shocked they have flicker. So much film emulation doesn't have flicker. Like Film Convert doesn't have flicker. I don't think even Filmbox has flicker. I think Filmbox is just grain and gate weave and like damage, scratches and dust. The Film Look Creator does not have damage and scratches yet, but it's fine. It's got all these other tools. You also have split toning, which I thought was kind of neat. You can goof around with it and get all kinds of funky things. You could probably recreate this like double stack look with it. Specifically if... How did I get... Must have hit something. Specifically if we just go in and do like a normal pipeline into Rec 709 with it. And then we go and we do split tone. We kind of push this. And we find our angle on it a bit. Pivot set right, so like that. And kind of pull it back some. Yeah, you can kind of get that. We need more contrast though. So yeah, I mean, there's tons of ways that you can achieve the same result or a similar result, and this is kind of the white balance is off. There we go. This is kind of a similar result, It's all about the destination and the journey. There's a million ways to skin a cat, as long as the cat gets skinned. Probably sound like a psychopath. It's great. So yeah, that's a really quick, simple, easy way to get to a decent result from just a few simple nodes. I kind of want to play with this a little bit more, so let's reset all layers. Let's reset all layers. Back when I started doing color work, which would have been like 2010, 2010, 2011, something like that. There weren't a lot of color managed tools in your inventory for this stuff. So one of the most common ways of managing color was to just contrast, pivot, offset. And that was your whole thing, like three controls. to get an image. And then if you had the ability, not everything had the ability to saturation control. If you had the ability to saturation control, then you would, sat control at the tail end of your pipeline, your node tree. And then that would be that. There probably were other better ways to do it, but that's how I was taught, was to contrast pivot offset for everything. Um, the thing is, this contrast has a roll off to it, where the contrast whenever I started did not. So let's actually cut that off. Let's do this old school. There we go. And so the thing too is, like, back when I learned, like, nobody was really worried about whether you clipped or not because you had legalizers at the tail end of your chain. I learned to do this with broadcast guys. So all of the cinema people are probably really cringing right now because I know this is not how you're supposed to do it. There's a lot of just issues with doing it this way, but like, once again, this is how I learned. Let's do 1.5 for contrast ratios. So like with a lot of these old broadcast guys, they'd get some kind of film material in, and if it was like not, because they weren't working with log, they were working with just like really low contrast material that they were given through tapes. Like the tape would get there, and for some reason the tape was like low con, and so like they would, to put it on air, just do contrast pivot offset to do it. But then that extended to whenever log footage started to be introduced into digital cameras, like the Red One series, because I had a Red One back in the day. The Red One footage, whenever I would work with these broadcast guys, they do the same thing, just contrast offset pivot for everything. And yeah, like you can you can get some good looking stuff with that method and that mentality, but it's just funny to me how it's so against the rules of what people expect and what people do now. Oh well, knock on wood. I still think you can get some decent looks with it. I'm of the mind that we're a little too sacred with our imagery and modern color correction, where we are a little too intent on maintaining every bit of tonality and every bit of. I'm using soft clip right now to kind of clean up the trace, but I feel like we're like a little too sacred with maintaining every bit of data in digital video these days. So now that I've done that, I can actually drop my pivot a bit, get some of that contrast back into it. Yeah, that's nice. That's fine. I dig it. I like it. And then if we need to target specific areas, like, now we can actually go behind, because this is almost like acting as a transform would. We could now go in and go behind and do, another old school method, which was just power window the shit out of everything. Like if it needed fixing, just power window it. Just freaking go. That's a trick I learned in college. College, the professors were all like, "Oh, this here has a contrast ratio that doesn't work for like our gamma curve that we're working with. It's a little too aggressive. Power window it." Just half the time we wouldn't even track the power windows. It would just be like you just power window it, and then like have like almost like how you would pull focus. Like if you've ever worked as a first AC, how you pull focus with a follow focus, how you set like your points and then you just kind of target those points. See, they wouldn't even do tracking like this. There'd be multiple power windows, and then you just have them for like the points, the stop and start points for the marks. So you have power window marks. It's so ridiculous. Why am I working this way? Nostalgic is why. But yeah, that's that. And then you've got the classic lift gamma gain style of working. Set your black point. Let's cut our broadcast safe off because it's gonna mess with a trace. Black point, set your white point. Let's get your saturation set. Let's do about 15. Let's do 20. Pull in contrast. Clean up for lift. Punch a little bit more of your gain. Add some more contrast to it. And then let's set our white balance. Cool. Now let me just ripple that out to each of them. And then for any errors like this, where we're like way over, then you would soft clip and just pull that value back in. And then the things like the sky, that would be where you just kind of clean it and go, hey, it's the sky. Who cares? It's blown out. It's just white. Whatever. And this is also like another old school way of doing it. I call this like music video style because it's what you see a lot in terms of the looks of music videos. I imagine a lot of this, instead of being done post scan, like this type of work, the music video style work would have been done by the TK, the telecine operator in the TK bay as they're setting densities for scanning. I imagine that more than someone with DaVinci after it's been scanned. And then that you could also roll into like classic color management, which is like no shoulder, linear top end type color management, which is what DaVinci Color Manage used to be by default and exclusively. And then they started adding tone mapping into it. So let's set our doop. And then let's turn off tone mapping and then set our output gamma and color space. Saturation compression on. So this would be like what you would get back, and let me just be easier to just do it like this. This would be like, let's say you have a DPX or a .send file or something with a float point, and the TK operator actually scanned it and logged. You would get a transform that would, based upon values like the density minimum, density maximum that the TK operator entered into the metadata, you'd get a transform like this, where the actual recorded image is with a floating point and it's still technically log, but values could be blown out in your display. And so you could bring those back and have full control over all of the tonality of the image, regardless of how it appeared on your monitor. And this is like a form that I worked with a little bit, very little bit, in college with Baselight, was getting DPX files that had like dmin and dmax transforms built into it, so that it was film scan that had been scanned log, but it had the density built into it, so that it appeared linear on screen. Yeah. Yeah. And then, because I want to warm this up, let's actually do a trim. Do a trim here. Warm up that a bit, just kind of get a target roughly. And this is what we call secondaries. So we have our primaries, which are like shot matching and correction, and then we have our secondaries, which are like, adjusted to taste. A lot of times power windows would also be secondaries. Something like that. that left eye, or excuse me, right eye, left side of screen, but right eye, little dark. So let's open it up some, and then you'll see at the trace we are technically illegal again because of my secondaries. Boom, now we're legal. Ah, power of saturation control. It's amazing. But yeah, this is like all really outdated old shit that I learned before the proper ways were known, before I had the knowledge when I was a wee boy. Waggle, a waggle that remote. Um, so yeah, now a lot. I mean, whenever I'm not just experimenting or doing specific looks, like most of the time, the way that I like to work is with ASUS, but I'll do the ASUS transform using a CST just because I find it has a cleaner, less. It introduces less noise and artifacting than the ASUS OFX. And then I'll do an output into 709s right there. CCT. Uh, oh, there it is. CCT. Yep, that's correct. That's correct. Reference gamma output. And then so that we get correct movement on our HDR tools, I'll do timeline as ASUS CCT. And then output will be Rec 709. And then we can use global and the HDR tools and kind of dig in and get whatever look we want, whatever we feeling. And if you notice, I haven't qualified skin tones or anything because to me, trying to nail perfect skin tones doesn't matter. To me, skin tones should be based upon like whatever lighting condition you're in. You know, whatever light is on the skin is going to be the light that skin tones will also reflect and or absorb, depending on the melanin in someone's skin. So to me, like it's not important to keep perfect skin tones whenever your lighting is not neutral. And you don't always just like you don't always want like perfect white balance because then it's boring. Let's pump this puppy up and make it more moody. Late afternoon vibes. And so now we're very warm on everything. And to keep it from feeling almost monochrome, that's why we cool off our low end some to bring back some of that contrast and value that we lost. And boom, there you go. Then we could also do like instead of late afternoon, let's do blue hour. So let's reset these. And then we'll do like let's actually reset, yeah, because that's not gonna be enough. So let's reset that. So I don't know how many of you spend a lot of time outside, but like right after the sun starts to go down, there's a moment where the sun is still up, but everything goes blue instead of being that golden from golden hour. And that's kind of like this. Like the sun is going down, but it's not quite all the way down yet. And to help cement that feeling, we're going to do a trim across all of them. And we're going to grab the top end of this and we're going to push a little bit of like pink into it because typically there's a lot of pink at the end of blue hour. Actually, what value range would work for that better? Like that, maybe. No. I'd have to probably key a specific range. Let's go ahead and just do that. Let's get that like pink in there, and then let's key a range on this. That's still not working for me. I have to sit and play with it. Yeah, tons of looks. You can also do print emulation out from ACES. You can go and take your ODT output device transform, do ADX10, and then we can take a lookup table and we can go let's do the same one we had before. And we need to clean up some values. Technically, I think that's not going to work because of the timeline being ACES. So let's go back to X109. And this is why I don't do a lot of playing around with ACES post transform. Because this, but you get the idea. You get the idea. See here. The reason I do the timeline space as ACES is because that's the kind of math that we get when we do our timeline level ACES transforms. So, yay. What should I talk? Is there anything else I should talk about? I feel like this is for like quick stuff because I mean you can run through clips quick with any of these methods that I've shown. Like you can just like knock stuff out of the park really, really fast. Oh yeah, let's do ACES for comparison's sake. Let's do ACES CCT in DaVinci YRGB. Color managed. Why? What? Okay, so you're not doing the transform out like you're supposed to. So I have to bypasses the input. It's the same as timeline. It's like miscellaneous default 2 rooks of an 09. What's the point of that? And you should have it when it's unknown default to timeline, and then have you tag. Oh, whatever. Where's red? Come on, DaVinci. Come on, Black Magic. Why you gotta be that way? One of the things I some people like, but I kind of dislike about the Resolve CST, um, Resolve's built-in color management is the way in which it handles highlight roll off. I think it's a little too aggressive. It doesn't want to let anything over like 90 IRE or 896 volts. You can, but like it's a very aggressive roll curve. And so I find that you have to boost exposure or always go in and just grab highlights and like drag them up to get the kind of contrast ratios that you want, the kind of pop in an image that you want. Which always feels like it's a little more work than it should be for these faster turnaround, simple. There we go. See, some people don't like Asus because it's got a look built into it, but I actually kind of like the look built into Asus. So, like right out of the box, just boom, right there, we have a great usable image. I haven't touched a single thing other than putting it in Asus. Yep. I'm sorry, Graham. I'm sorry, Graham. Graham has opinions on Asus. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. All these colorists who and color scientists who I've spoken to. I am so sorry, but I just like it. It's quick. It's dumb. It's got that contrast level that makes my brain go. It kind of slightly lifts the low end too, so that you can have the crazy high contrast ratios and the image still looks usable. It's great. I'm sorry. It makes my brain go, yeah. So, 2 thumbs up for Aces. And people should totally subscribe to Artlist Max and get the log footage tier. It's really cool to be able to just dig into this footage and do whatever with it. Hell, while we're on the do whatever with it train, let's keep this party going. What are we doing? Let's output here. How many people have actually paid for Filmbox? Because I can guarantee it's not a lot of people. Boom. This is the full version of Filmbox. A lot of people probably downloaded and played with the trial version. I also love this app. Filmbox is great. I don't like to use it on a clip-by-clip layer because I don't like having to fiddle with these controls. I'd rather deal with something that's built into the interface, so I can actually use like a set of color wheels on a panel to deal with it rather than clicking. I'm just clicking so that people can see what I'm doing. But I freaking love Filmbox. Filmbox also has like a new extended version which kills the film emulation and gives you just a really nice like neutral image, but it maintains like the texture and everything. So you lose like the print, but you still maintain like the negative, I guess, if you will, because negatives are much more neutral than prints. You can also do negative only, and then treat it like it's just any kind of log footage and roll your own output for it. So we can do like where's my CST? Let's do Cineon out to 2.4. And then you have, your own negative output. And then we can do like an old school linearized negative. Yeah. and then we can control our saturation manually. Yeah. Say it with me. Yeah. And I can feel like I'm 21 again. Anyway. Yeah, and then you can also just like have the the texture and everything and roll your own. But the way that I like to work is with Filmbox is to just do everything in Rec 709 and work behind it and use global for it because we're acting like we're dealing with linear controls the similar way that you would with you know, the camera's actual exposure and everything. It's not the same kind of math that's in the app itself. I'll just do a comparison to show that it's not the same math exactly. Um, and to me, it seems almost like there's a sort of offset going on in it. In it. Let me screenshot this, and then we'll reset this, and then we'll try offset. No, it's not offset. At least not at that point. Now I'm curious exactly where in the pipelines. This is the fun stuff, right? So negative only, and then we'll do print only. Output. So is it an offset here that they're doing? Also, no, unless we are working in Cineon. No. So I don't know what the math is. Not that it matters, because I like working with global and controlling it that way. I just like the late afternoon vibes. We're just gonna keep those going. Late afternoon vibes, keep that shit going, yeah. Girl. And as you see, there's a lot of grain. I find the grain, the natural like noise profile in footage to be like really, really heavily brought out whenever I use Filmbox. Filmbox is not for high ISO shots. Tell you what, it's definitely not for high ISO shots. So now we can bring the grain back in. And now we just have the grain from the emulation. Let's do full frame. No, let's do Super 35. We'll do 50 dust and weave because I like the little pops of dust. And I like having gate weave. And I know full is like quote unquote more accurate, but I mean, Filmbox isn't really accurate. So let's just go back to standard so that we don't quite lose as much in the low end. It's not quite as much crush to it. And yeah, I mean, my monitor's got a way higher contrast ratio than the like computer monitor than my external. My external showing it, and I can see like a little bit of milkiness in the black tones. But whenever I look at the UI is like crushed. So what are you gonna do? I will trust my external way more than I will trust the UI. Yeah, that's Filmbox. Showing that off because I know most people don't get to see it because it's expensive. Expensive. um, with Dehancer on this stuff. Red is red. Oh, they don't go back far enough. There's no dragon sensor. I guess the Gemini would be like close enough, maybe. Oh, dragon sensor. Dragon. Ooh, fitty. Ooh. I will say this. I don't like Dehancer's grain emulation. I feel like it's too strong at every setting. There is no like not too strong setting. I also feel like, and this might be more accurate to the film profile that they're, the film that they're profiling, but I feel like the saturation is always way too low out of the box. I'm always having to come in and like bump up color boost and shit like that to like 35 most of the time. And that's Dehancer, which I find Dehancer to actually feel, out of all of the film emulations, I feel like Dehancer out of the box, when you do get it right, feels the most like old. I'm not gonna say it's the most accurate. It's definitely not. It doesn't look like, it's supposed to be Vision 3. It does not look like Vision 3. It looks like something from the 60s or 70s. Like it feels old. Like this looks like some Godfather shit. So if I were doing like, you know, say the spaghetti western that I've been wanting to do for a while, or like that 70s samurai film I've been wanting to make, I would totally use Dehancer on that. But I don't know if I'd use Dehancer on something that's meant to be more modern. I'd use bits and pieces of it, maybe, because I love their halation sim. Their halation sim is like, cut the bloom off, because I honestly feel like their bloom's a little too aggressive. But their halation sim I find to be among the best out of all the film emulation. So I'd piecemeal, but I don't know if I'd ever actually, like, outside of specific context, use Dehancer, fully in the raw without some sort of pullback to it. And we got Film Convert, the first one of these that ever really took off. I remember when Film Convert first came out, they had that demo with the red one, and people's minds were blown. They were like, "Oh my god, it matches!" The unspoken truth to it is that, yeah, it matched after a lot of back and forth. You can totally match Film Convert to film scans, just like you can match anything to film scans, provided you have a reference that you're able to look at and match to. Um, because just going from nothing and not having that reference, you're gonna get this, which, nice bleach bypass, I guess. So the thing about both Dehancer and Film Converters, I feel like they don't saturate well. The density is not tied to saturation or whatever. It always looks bypass to me. It just always looks like it's a bleach bypass. There we go. The vibrant slider is what I want. Not the saturation, with the vibrance. So let's do 40. There we go. Yeah, that feels kind of right. The contrast is ridiculous. But that's just Film Convert. Like Film Convert has like ridiculous contrast ratios. So how does it look under? Eh. Eh. Yeah, that works better. Oh, that's Film Convert. Which, because it's got a very neutral white balance to it, because it's always D65. Chromatic adaptation. Boom. Oh, I did that backwards. Boom. There we go. That's what we want. Although I might actually. Well, I don't like how that. Dang it. I don't like how that. Look at that. I don't like how that looked. Down. There we go. There we go. Let's save from a trace. Now we come up to a vibrance. We're gonna bump that to 50. And now we got something usable from Film Convert. That took a little bit of tweaking. We good. 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 It's like a graveyard behind them. I never noticed that. It's looks like headstones. It might be. Boom. There's the bacon. Well, let's just do a regular CST. I'm bored. This is a test so I can talk on camera about color in the future, and I'm bored. And I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing. I've never been good at talking, and I don't know. What's the regular contrast? Okay, I gotta. It's linearized. Let me. Because the way that we want it is like mid-tone contrast, but not necessarily like affecting the whole image. So I may just do shadow for that, and then trim it with dark. And then bring shadow down some more. Let's trim dark a bit more. And I don't know why this glitch keeps happening in this beta, but I feel like the waveform trace is always getting like weirdly dim after a certain amount of time. Yeah. Yeah. Let's just pop this up. And there we go. That's also not bad for like a quick, simple little thing. Yeah. All right. All right. I want to do thing. Skin. And how do we invert it? Is that right? No, it's not that. It's that. Okay, good. Skin. Oh yeah, we're pulling out the color of everything. It's not the skin. Yeah. Oh yeah. Pulling the color out of everything is not the skin. Oh yeah. I'm pulling the color. Oh yeah. Get the color out of everything. That's not the skin. Oh yeah. Not a fan of that. So now that we've done that, we go post transform. I'm trying to do a teal and orange for you people who are wondering, what the heck is he doing? 0.96, boom. We go over here and we do these two. 0.46, boom. And then we go here to gain and go 0.5. And I gotta clean that up, but I'm really lazy right now. I don't want to have to clean it up. I don't want to have to clean it up. Gotta. If I gotta. Dang. Dang. If I gotta. View filter, no. No pre-filter ones. Do you know who's no? No. Still no. Highlight, no. Oh, that actually did help. Highlight. Midtone. Oh. 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 Shadow. Yeah. Cool. I can live with that. So what we'll do to fix it is we'll just go over here, boom, 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 boom. Get that big circle right there. Get that. Soften crap out. And then shrink it down. There you go. No one will know. No one will know. No one will know. No one will ever know. You're gonna know. We can do that again for you. We'll just take this and then we'll go. No one will ever know. How are they gonna know? I feel like it's not that noticeable in this shot. It just looks like reflection. Same with the shot. It just looks like reflections. Yeah, teal and orange. I hate teal and orange, but you can do it. Yeah, you can do it. You can do it too. You can do it. Woo! You can do it. You can do it too. You can do it. Who? You can do it. You can do it too. You can do it. Who? 'Cause everybody do the twist. Said everybody do the twist. Said everybody do the twist. Yeah. Twist. Yeah. That's kind of like two strip looking or three. Yeah, two or three strip. Like they're just really faded. That's kind of a cool look. Hold up. Wait a minute. 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 That's a vibe. That's too much. Uh, there we go. That's a vibe. That's a cool vibe. I was not expecting to make a cool vibe piece today, but I gotta fucking legalize this shit. Dang. Legalizing levels is like the bane of my existence because I just want to make really wacky out there, cool things that nobody has ever seen before. And a lot of times legalizing gets in the way of that. As a matter of fact, our saturation may not be legal, so I'm just gonna put on our broadcast safe. Just to be safe. I like it. It's messy, but I like it. It's messy and a fun. Ooh. Oh, hold on. Prism blur. Oh, look at aberration strength. Let's cut the vignette off. Right. Okay. Okay, and now we do a circle. Invert it. Nice. And then soften it to like 20. Size it up a little bit more. Yeah, that's like a shitty lens or a really shitty stacked filter, but it's nice for this. Like it feels nice. I like it. I approve of my own bad decisions. Needs texture though. Oh, this is such a because I haven't labeled shit. This is such a confusing node tree, but I don't care. We're experimenting and having fun. Ooh, 400T, 100% because it's kind of got like a bleached bypass vibe. Let's 200T. Doesn't look like actual grain to me. Let's do hard light, linear light. There we go. That looks like actual grain. Still missing something. Piece de resistance. Love it. That's cool. Nice. All right. I think I may have just created the look of the flashbacks for a project I'm working on.